Hey guys, Dr. Cole here doing another video for you on intermittent fasting. After the first one, I had a lot of great questions come through, so I wanted to take a minute and just address some of those with you. If you have not watched the first one yet, I would encourage you, go back and watch that one first, then swing back here to watch my answers to some of these questions too. So, some of the questions I got were like, Dr. Cole, is it safe to do intermittent fasting? What about taking medications when you're intermittent fasting? How long should we do intermittent fasting for, or how many days of the week? So let me just take some time and clarify some of those for you and hopefully answer all your questions today. The first one, is it safe to do intermittent fasting? When I said that intermittent fasting has become like a trend on the internet recently, that's true. It is new in America. It is catching fire in America right now, but intermittent fasting as a concept itself is something that is absolutely not a new trend. I mean, people have been doing this for thousands of years, ancient cultures, people that lived agrarian, farming, hunting type lifestyles. I mean, this is how most of the world lived before the past 150 years or so. The reason being is that if you were a farmer, if you lived an agrarian hunting lifestyle, well, if you had something that came through that decimated your crop, or if you had a drought and your crop didn't come up really good, then you were going to have to ration your food. And there would be times where they were intentionally rationing their food and eating less, and other times when they had no choice because they just didn't have enough to eat. Same thing with a hunt. If you go on a hunt and it's not a good one and you don't get an animal, well, you're not eating that day then. So, and then on the flip side of that too, they would have feast times as well, where if you did have a big bountiful harvest or you had a great hunt, that would be times when the whole village, the whole family would go and kind of feast themselves. So feast, famine type cycles are definitely not something new. Every ancient culture has done this. For somebody who studies the Bible and Hebrew culture, there were specific days of the year where God, Yahweh, instructed Israel where they were to fast. They would have holy days to God, holy fasting times of the year where they would not eat anything. So not just in the Bible and in Israel culture, but really every ancient culture. If you look into the religions, into the cultures and the various times throughout history, most cultures were fasting oftentimes throughout the year. The next thing about, is it safe to do intermittent fasting on medications? I tell all of my clients that by law, it's not my job, or I legally cannot by law alter a person's medications or give advice on that. So that's always the best conversation to have with your medical doctor first, or your prescribing physician. I will tell you, for my clients and my personal coaching programs, almost every client I work with has no problem fitting their medications within an 8-hour time frame. And that's something their doctors are fine with too. So that in the first video, we talked about doing an 8-hour eating window and then a 16-hour fasting window. So you're eating 1/3 of the day, fasting for 2/3 of the day. Most people have no problem getting their medications in within that 8-hour eating window. Now, if you are an exception and that's not a possibility for you, another option could be doing bone broth outside of your eating window too. Meaning you're going to eat your food within that 8-hour eating window, but during the 16 hours when you're not eating, you can be drinking bone broth, including with taking medications too. And bone broth is not a very dense calorie drink. There is some collagen, there's some gelatin. I use it for all my patients because it's amazing at healing the gut. And literally every single cell in your body needs collagen and gelatin to repair itself and for healing. So it's great to do outside of the eating window. I will tell you personally, if you're not on medications, I believe the most thorough way to fast is a water fast. So I think you'll get a deeper cleanse just only drinking water outside of your eating window. But if you're just starting out, or you're a little scared to go that time without any food, or you're taking medication, hey, drink some bone broth outside of your eating window. We make it from home from scratch is how I would prefer to make it. And we just drink it in coffee mugs. So 8 ounces at a time, drink it. It will fill you up and make it way easier to get to your next eating window too. And I don't know if I covered this in video 1 too, but intermittent fasting is not always about cutting calories. It's not about eating less food. It's about eating the food you're eating less often. So when I am within my 8-hour eating window, or if like a 6 or a 4-hour window some days, believe me, ask my wife, I eat during those hours there. The time when I'm eating, I will eat a lot of food, kind of shock the system at that point to give myself enough fuel, number one, to sustain muscle from my workouts that I do, to sustain, mental and cognitive ability here, seeing patients and not getting low blood sugar levels, but also give my body enough fuel to last until the next day when I'll be eating again. So during your eating window, make sure that you eat. Don't make yourself sick, but all the food you would normally eat, the goal is to get that within your 8-hour eating window, and obviously eating healthy foods too. We don't want to be consuming fast food or processed foods whenever we're doing our intermittent fasting, or ever really. The final question is the time frame for intermittent fasting. How long should we do this for? How many days per week? In the first video, I may have made it sound like I'm just always intermittent fasting perpetually every single week, but that's not the case. I will say about half the week, 3 to 4 days to begin with, is a great start to do your intermittent fasting window. And there should be some days per week where you intentionally don't intermittent fast. You want to kind of go through those feast-famine cycles I talked about with these ancient cultures, where you're going to intentionally fast 3 or 4 days a week, but you're going to intentionally feast 1 or 2 days a week too. And that will be where you're eating healthy foods, but you're intentionally broadening that eating window, so you're not only eating all your food within 8 hours. So we call those feast days. I normally will do that over the weekend. During the week, most days I'll do my intermittent fasting. And we talked about the windows too. Start out with 8 hours, go to 6 if you want to. Heck, there are some days where I will go dinner one day until dinner the next day with no food. So that means that I am going about 24 hours in between meals, maybe even a little longer some days. And you're still getting food both days, but you're intentionally letting one day go through between meals. And so that's kind of like a really aggressive intermittent fasting schedule. So hopefully you can see that there's a lot of ways to do this. Half the week, do like an 8-hour window. Couple days per week, do your feasting days there. If you want to get really crazy, try that dinner to dinner 24-hour fast. And as far as how many weeks or months to keep this going with, that really depends on a person's health goals. If I'm working with a person that has GI issues or autoimmune issues, those patients tend to do amazing with more fasting and more rest. So we'll do that for a long period of time. Other people, if you're just trying to lose a little bit of weight or balance your hormones, or you just want to try it out and give your body a rest, do this for a month and give it 1 month of just what I said. 4 weeks of half the week you're intermittent fasting and half the week you're not. See how your body responds. If you're doing great, push that a little bit longer. I will generally have my longest patients go about 3 months at a time. 3 months with the intermittent fasting, and then they can take an intentional rest where they're not intermittent fasting for a month or so too. So it all depends on your goals. If you do have any questions, shoot me an email, drzackcole@gmail.com. DRZAC, Zach, COLE, Cole, drzackcole@gmail.com. But great questions, guys. Hopefully that helps to answer those. Like, share this video. As I said last time, there's so many people that need to hear this information that the more we can spread this out, I think the better. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.